Refuelled BRICS, Searching for Purpose with New Stakes, the inaugural plenary. On the panel, Ambassador Navdeep Suri from ORF, Ebtesam Al-Ketbi, President and Founder, Emirates Policy Center, Victoria Panova from the Higher School of Economics, Fabio Soares from IPIA in Brazil, and moderated by Sara Mosuetza. Moderator, over to you.
Thank you so much, Program Director, His Excellency, our President and former Presidents of Liberia and Maldives, colleagues, esteemed guests. Let me start here. I've been hearing India saying it was a fantastic BRICS presidency for South Africa. Samir, I think it was an outstanding presidency by South Africa, and thanks to Ambassador Suklal, who's sitting here. Your leadership has been outstanding as well, and I personally thank you for all the achievements from, it was first BRICS Vaccine Center, and then the Development Bank, and now we have our special friend, and this is the first time ever where we are sitting in this platform, such a platform as BRICS, with our new family member. So let me take time to especially welcome our friend who's joining us in this conversation from one of our BRICS, or new BRICS family. Thank you, and thank you for joining us, and I hope you will stay, unlike other countries who might not stay for long. I know that your country will stay. Let me also thank our old friends and friends in the BRICS, Fabio from Brazil, Victoria from Russia. We are going to hand over to Russia, and of course our dear friend Navdeep from India. Let me also, as indicated earlier on, from UAE, Ebtesam Al-Ketbi. Thank you. This conversation is about taking BRICS forward. It is about where we are now as the global South, but also the global order. As our president was talking about our history, but also as Samir was inviting us to talk about a deeply contested world of moving from a unipolar world to a multipolar world. Let's think about where we are now. Let me first ask you to provide some introductory remarks of where we are now as a country, as South Africa, hosting this BRICS presidency, from Brazil to Russia to UAE to India. Where do you think we are now in relation to our big BRICS agenda, not only as an ideal in terms of economic powerhouse, but also in terms of politics? So let me start with Fabio, your brief comments and introductory remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Pleasure to meet you here. Congratulations also for organizing the BTTC this year, the BRICS Think Tank Council, and the academic forum that was led by you in a great way. And as you were asking the question, I was actually remembering the discussions we had during the academic forum and during the BRICS Think Tank Council. At that moment, just 3 months before the summit, we're not sure about the expansion. So we're basically talking about the criteria, and we actually had to restrain our discussion around the criteria. So for us, the think tanks of the BRICS, it came actually as a surprise. We saw the momentum building in the previous 2 or 3 weeks before the summit, but it came as a surprise. We're not prepared. So we should rethink why the think tanks were not actually thinking that could happen. But I think that part of the answer may actually be on the current situation. So the challenge that we're facing, the fact that multilateralism is somewhat blocked, perhaps made our leaders, the presidents and prime ministers of our countries, to try to speed up and bring the BRICS, the new BRICS, ahead as a novelty and shake this reality. So perhaps that can be part of the answer. So we should think about it as think tanks and discuss to see how we can move and how this can help unblock the current situation we are facing. In economic terms, it's actually a novelty, and we should, as think tanks as well, think on how together the Global South, and especially these enlarged BRICS, can actually mobilize resources to do the transformations that we need to adapt our countries, and as it was mentioned in the opening remarks, to speed up SDG with a strategy and with the thinking that comes from the South. So I think that these are the two initial thoughts I would like to share with you. Thank you.
Thanks. Of course, Fabio, next year you're taking over the G20, and we'll come back to you on what your thinking is of what we should be focusing on taking from India. Victoria, I don't want to put you on the spot, but what does the world look like from Russia? I think many people would have thought that we would have collapsed, given the challenges that we experience as a BRICS. So maybe just paint a picture for us. Where is Russia in the BRICS?
Thank you, Sarah. Special thanks to you and to Ambassador Nil Suklal for an outstanding South African presidency this year. It was indeed wonderful. And I should mention that we are lucky. On the one hand, we are in geopolitical tensions, but on the other hand, we are in the moment of truth when we can be transferring our world to a better, fairer world. We have the G20, Indonesia, now India, also outstanding presidency, then Brazil, and in the G20. And BRICS in this regard plays a special role. And I think what we witnessed with Russia, with BRICS as a whole, is that when you have their, not union, but a kind of a mechanism, a structure, unification of the willing, centered not around confronting anybody. So when countries, the newcomers, but also those who applied for it, there are many more countries, we see that what works better is that BRICS is about solidarity. BRICS is about multinationalism, multipolarity, multinationalism, different cultures banding together and seeing the beauty of each other, not confronting each other. And that's why what we had this year with BRICS expanding further, it will be a challenging task because ahead of us, as you rightly said, we will be vested with the responsibility to take this expansion forward, to take a number of issues forward, be it payment mechanism, be it lots of challenges like trade, international trade, where we have to actually push for a more fair agenda, for international institutions to work, for a more, bring back more centrality to the United Nations, to its principles. So, but I think we will manage because what is important is that we are friends here. And we can be back to each other, but we look at the same direction. And this is very important. Major principles of BRICS, they are shared by each other. And we are thinking of building a fair world in the interests of everybody. We, as a world majority, can do that. And that's the key.
Thank you so much. Let me hear from our new friend from UAE. You are a new family member. What does the world look like inside BRICS? Hardly a few weeks, a few months. So your intro remarks.
Good evening, everybody. This is my second step in Africa, and I'm so happy to be here. And thank you for letting us joining the BRICS. The main conclusion in our conference, Abu Dhabi Strategic Debate, held just last week, that the global South is rising, and it's a fact. And UAE cannot also ignore that fact when it's looking also to East, from India to China to South Africa, even to Latin America. And UAE believes that it cannot work with unipolar world. So multilateralism is a way where we can achieve more. And with sovereign wealth above trillion, UAE also believes that it can help in the development bank, in helping the other countries, and in connectivity with other countries. This doesn't mean that we are also abandoning the West, but it means balancing in the West. I remember after signing the BRICS, I was invited for dinner with European ambassadors, and one of them asked me, Your Excellency, why you are joining the bad guys club? Then I looked at him. I said, well, it means that all your Western clubs is good guys only, and only the East is the bad guys. And this hasn't been changed since the colonialism. Always that you are looking to the East, that they are bad guys. You have your relation with India, you have your relation also with China, you have with South Africa and Latin America. How can you describe those bad guys? But it shows how the other also look at you. And I think we also as UAE trying to be an added value, not just a member, but an active member, bringing in new ideas, bringing in projects, connecting between Africa, Asia, and Latin America, and Russia.
Thank you. Navdeep, an exceptional G20 year, We would not be here talking at Cape Town conversation if it wasn't for your leadership. Maybe people have been talking about South Africa BRICS presidents. Right? Let me just hear you on T20, G20. Where is the world now after a couple of months trying to do the world good from India's side?
Thank you, Sarah, and a pleasure to be back in Cape Town. You know, I want to take off from the insights that President Thabo Mbeki provided in his opening address. The trail of broken promises over a period of 50 years that he reminded us of. We took the initiative right in January itself to host the Voice of the Global South Summit, attended virtually by leaders from 125 countries. And that gave us a first-hand insight into what were the concerns that we needed to make sure are reflected on the table. I think the second signal step was getting African Union on the table. And it was strange that it hadn't happened until now. After all, the European Union has been a member. And so I think it addressed certainly an asymmetry or a wrong that needed to be corrected. We followed up on that, again unusually, with a second virtual summit for the Voice of the Global South. It gave us an opportunity to give feedback to countries in the South about what our presidency was trying to achieve or had tried to achieve. And we followed up with a first ever G20 follow-up summit, where you want to drive home the point that this is not just a talk shop where people come and make promises, but outcomes are going to be monitored. When you combine that with the expansion of the BRICS under South Africa's presidency, and the fact that you now have Ethiopia and Egypt as members, I think we have reason to be satisfied at the end of the year in terms of our stock taking that this time for Africa is happening. It is represented in stronger measure, and we will build upon this. Having said that, the bar's been set very low by the developed countries. And so whatever we can do in this happy coincidence of India leading to Brazil, leading to South Africa for G20, and similarly for BRICS, I think this is a remarkable window of opportunity for us to show that we can, as Samir said, come up with creative ideas. You know, President Beki has identified the problems. What about the solutions? And can this forum from this city come up with some of those solutions that are so desperately needed to address, so that sequence that the President spoke about can be reversed?
Thanks, Navdeep. Let me start with what Navdeep has just said. Window of opportunity, what does that look like? What are our aspirations for Brazil G20 2024? What are the aspirations from Russia for 2024? For UAE, what are you hoping 2024 is going to achieve for us? And let's start talking about what is that window of opportunity, because this is, again, maybe one of those rare moments where all of us are sitting here and having to think about 2024. By the way, 2024 for South Africa is a big year as well. It's a big year. Fabio, I'm glad that no one is going to be asking me about South Africa 2024. I'm asking the questions today. So, Fabio.
It's election year. Elections years. Always a challenge in the transition. At least you are not with the G20 in 2024. So, well, the first thing that comes to my mind is responsibility. It's a huge responsibility for Brazil to inherit from India and to do a good transition to South Africa. And why it's a huge responsibility? Because we as think tank have been mostly engaged with the T20 process, but we have been observing the G20 process very closely. Of course, we want to influence the G20 discussions and decisions through the work and the new ideas that we want to bring to the table and to discuss with our peers. And India has set the bar very high. So for us, it's going to be a challenge. Most likely will be a little bit more modest, but we want to do it with a sense of responsibility and a sense of something that Samir said in his opening speech, of inclusiveness. And for us, one of the biggest challenges is actually to invite Africa, to welcome the African Union and to welcome the think tanks from Africa into the Brazil T20 process. That's very, very important for us. And we do need and we do want to see a change in terms of the issues that we have been discussing. And I think that there is an opportunity from the priorities that have been set by President Lula when he gave the speech at the summit in New Delhi, where Brazil priorities are under this umbrella of inequality. So Brazil wants to bring inequality to the discourse. If we look, and just to do the Control F, the documents of the G20 don't talk very much about inequality. And how can we discuss the global challenge that we have if we don't discuss inequality? So I think that under these two big responsibilities, that's basically doing this transition from India to South Africa with the high standards set by India, we do need to think how we are going to have sustainable development in its three dimensions, looking and fighting against inequality so that we can accelerate the process towards achieving the sustainable development goals.
Thanks, Fabio. Victoria?
So, Fabio reminded of inclusivity, very good word, equality, and also mutual respect. Those would certainly be the principles, but if we talk about what are the expectations, obviously will be a challenging year, first time when we will have it in expanded format. And what we'll have to do is to ensure that all the new members, because as you remember, Russian Sherpa Rybkov said that, yes, of course, there are quite some time differences in the BRICS, but we know how to overcome them, know how to do it with a sense of mutual respect. And there's already established mode of cooperation, and it will be very important for the rest of the newcomers to understand and to see how it works. And obviously we'll need to be working on their vital issues. Economic partnership strategy is to expire in 2025. Brazil will be responsible, I believe, if we keep the same queue, will be responsible for having the new one. But I think in order to make it comprehensive and responding to the needs of all the BRICS countries, but also BRICS plus the global majority, then we'll have to start working right away, even without or at the end of South African presidency. Same applies to BRICS payment instruments, because it's one of the very important modes of how to facilitate trade, how to facilitate sovereign choices of the country and making independent decisions. Also, NDB, Dr. Ebtesam has mentioned that UAE is interested also in joining into this efforts of making NDB more, let's say, is covering more areas of dealing with these infrastructure projects, and obviously UAE is a probably new financial center of the global south, and this would be important to set an example, especially because we still have IMF reform pending. Of course, NDB is a very different situation about development, but we still need to set examples of how the new institutions of the BRICS plus world work for global. Same goes with WTO, because I think it's also in the interest of all of us to put forward the ideas of fair and inclusive trade, and of course social issues. I believe that what would be important, and what we had, and it's always a feature of the BRICS, is that we don't only keep it on the official track one.
Thinking about BRICS, what are the areas other than development, the development bank, what are the other areas that interests you most inside BRICS?
No, I want to talk about that. I think after Gaza war, the geopolitics, because BRICS is about trade and economy and geopolitics, it comes to the BRICS, and how to overcome that and its consequences on the economy. The other thing, the financial system, and it's dollar-based. How can BRICS overcome that? And this is, it shows with the Russian, with the Chinese, with everybody who wants to use their local currency. The other thing, we are talking about connectivity. The Indian-Middle East corridor, this is part. How can we do something like that, connecting, okay? Because China has its own initial Belt and Road. How can we connect Africa with Middle East, with India, with Latin America? Something of that also in my mind. How can we achieve something like that? There are still challenges inside BRICS, okay? So how can you solve that challenges and problems between the members, and also open the door for new comers? The more you widen the club, okay, the more you have more influence in the global order, and you pave the way for more multilateralism, which is, I think, in the interest of everybody. UAE is part of that, and I think the Gulf is the Saudi now with you. How they are coming with their own views, but also BRICS has to give them an idea where they can help the others, where they can cooperate on multilateral way.
Navdeep, maybe let's and I'm looking at the program director. He's very nervous about time. I know him very well, and he's pointing out that we still have another round of maybe I want us to come back to how are we. It was in May this year where we met, same place as the BRICS think tank. Council, and one of our reflections was exactly this point about expansion. We didn't say if, we didn't say no, we are objecting. We said how are we going to do this this expansion? It is exciting from an African perspective that we now have 3 countries inside the new BRICS. Let's start talking about how do we think we're going to be working together? What are the new areas of possibility for the new BRICS?
So I think it's a challenge, particularly because BRICS follows a very consensus-driven approach, which has its positives and its difficulties that it brings to the table. But a consensus-driven, democratic, more representative setup is anytime preferable to one where rules are made unilaterally and imposed unilaterally. And I think that's what brings us together, that we may not amongst each other agree on everything, but we do work really hard to arrive at a consensus on areas that we can work together on. I think if we can expand those areas where we can work together and from our think tank side, from the BRICS Academic Forum, come up with concrete ideas for the leadership. Right now, you have an inverted situation. The leadership seems to move ahead of the think tanks, right? And the leadership has announced the expansion, and the think tanks are trying to work out what the hell was the criteria for inclusion. And we will probably continue to try and debate, because we would like to have theoretical frameworks. The leadership is looking at things very practically and saying, these are the countries that I would like to have on board. I think we have an opportunity. The fact that Saudi Arabia and UAE today are members as countries with considerable resources, if their active weight comes behind the New Development Bank, it enables you to go into areas that were previously perhaps seen as too ambitious. We've spoken in the past about expanding opportunities for climate finance, for instance. Can you have the NDB go into that? And finally, I want to say you were there and we were there in Abu Dhabi because UAE is also hosting COP28, and that's something of extreme importance to all of us. So I think one of the interesting things that India tried to do through its G20 presidency and the T20 track in particular was the G20 to COP28 handover, and to see whether we could, through the call of action that we've issued, actually create a new pathway for trying to meet some of the climate targets that have been set. So that, again, I think is a legacy from India's presidency that hopefully can be continued and built upon, and our exceptional relationship with UAE enabled us this time to make it happen. And it was wonderful that the president-designate of COP28 could come and address all the delegates.
And it was a fantastic discussion in Abu Dhabi. Navdeep, you always just hit a nerve as you were talking about how, as the think tank and academics are always lagging, and we are always being led by our leaders in terms of these big ideas. I could not stop myself by looking at Ambassador Suklal. He always is talking about how, as academics, we must be leading on these matters, and we always try. Let me, as we do our concluding remarks, Fabio, I absolutely loved the idea around the focus on inequality. Do you want to say perhaps a bit more about this focus on inequality from Brazil's side? Are there any other ideas that we need to be preparing for 2024?
Okay. The whole idea is that inequality would be the umbrella that would cut across the three priorities. So the first priority is about social inclusion, fighting poverty and hunger. The second one is about the energy transition. We want to have a fair, inclusive energy transition and align with sustainable development, sustainable development at its three dimensions: the social, environmental, and economic. And the third one is actually the imbalances that we have in the international organizations, in the international financial institutions. So to have a more balanced, we have lots of inequality there. So we are talking about inequality of power and not only wealth and income inequality. And in that sense, inequality would embrace all these three direct priorities. In the T20, that's also the lenses that we want to go through. We have put forward 6 task forces. So the first one is basically fighting inequality, poverty, and hunger. The second one is about sustainable climate action and inclusive and just energy transitions. The third one is about reforming the international financial architecture. It's a very traditional theme in the G20, but also on the BRICS. We discuss it a lot. The fourth one is about inclusive trade and development. So unblocking trade and how to incorporate small and medium enterprises is something that we should look at. Also, how to involve women in trade is something that we want to look at in the T20 Brazil. The fifth one is something that actually India is leading, is on the digital transformation. We want to think how to be more inclusive and also how to guarantee the citizens its rights and to avoid discrimination. And the sixth one is about strengthening multilateralism and global governance. So these are the 6 task forces that we'll be working on. But tomorrow we are going to listen more about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Fabio. Victoria, I don't know what the focus would be for Russia next year, but I'm hoping that it will also touch on health. We still have many issues that we need to resolve as a global south, as BRICS around health. Maybe if you can speak to that and in relation to Russia.
Well, definitely, it's a bit too early to talk about the Russian priorities before the officials talk about it. So I will put this aside. One important thing that we have to say, we have to move to more proactive approach. We should think of the new principles of areas that are vital for the whole of humanity. And BRICS has very diverse countries. And we can, as everybody said, we don't always agree with each other, but that's also important because this way we can draft kind of common lines, common principles that would be in the interest of everybody. And this is not just, we've discussed earlier, just energy transition or climate issues, but also social issues that are vital for their healthy development of our societies, of our people, because we all realize that in this age of new technologies, it's not the technology that is on the first place, it's the person, it's the human being that comes first, and that is why we definitely have to be talking more in the light of their upcoming new diseases, pandemics, with their initiatives that South Africa put with Vaccine Research Center. We've been discussing it even before in different domains. It's the social health network that should be introduced for all the countries. So this is also economic, social, humanitarian issues should be there on the table, and I'm quite sure that BRICS would not be able to avoid those. But main point, once again, it's about proactive approach. We cannot react to something that is introduced to us from the outside. We should set the ideas and rules of our own and offer it to the world.
Let me change tact as I ask our new family member a different question. It's often argued that the expansion of BRICS is a direct challenge, and even the death of the superpower worst. How has your introduction in the new BRICS been received at UAE?
At UAE? No, it was welcomed at UAE, but it wasn't welcomed by the West, as I said, because China's there. But for UAE, it's an opportunity, a strategic opportunity to diversify its partnership. We diversify when we pivot to India, we also look to China, we look to Africa, and now in terms of organization also, not only on bilateral, but also in organization. And I think, UAE always dynamic. So it's not only joining and thinking, after that, what can we achieve? What can we bring? New ideas here. No, I think all the institutions inside UAE, they are implementing that and seeing. Also, they are looking to have BRICS next time they're meeting in UAE. Navdeep, there's only one, I will give it to you, 1 minute. Sorry.
Navdeep, you have 30 seconds, not 1 minute.
So I think just 2 points then. One is the session is Refuelled BRICS. I think the weight, the greater economic heft of an expanded BRICS is an opportunity to really push harder for reform of multilateral financial institutions, and we need to get our act together so that that weight moves in a particular direction. The second, and this takes off from a point that Ebtesam made. You have 5 founding members and 6 new members. Maybe we need to proactively, as think tanks, work to integrate the new members into the culture, method, history, and aspirations of BRICS, so that, as they come on board, they can participate much more fully in the deliberations that we are proposing.
Thank you very much to my panelists. Thank you so much for this panel. I think one of the important things for me, panel members and BRICS, are the principles that guide all of us as we work together. With that, Program Director, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Mosoetsa.